Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Arthritis at Home. Today, as the year draws to a close and the winter solstice approaches, we're doing a special episode. ACE is celebrating its 25th anniversary this December, and we're going to look at that and our future going forward. To do that, I'm joined today by Cheryl Koehn, president and founder of ACE. Cheryl, welcome.
Thank you, Kelly. Nice to be here again.
So, a time for reflection and double reflection this year, not just the end of a year, but also on ACE's evolving role in changing arthritis in Canada. First question, Cheryl, December 1999. Do you remember where you were?
I do actually. It was just around then that I had gone to Toronto and presented as a patient expert, patient sharing a lived experience perspective to an announcement for the first major federal arthritis research grant funding. $14 million over 7 years for the Canadian Arthritis Network. It was the first network of centers of excellence that was dedicated to a disease. And I remember that day like it happened yesterday, Kelly. And it was the first time a person with lived experience had been included in anything like that. I was part of the grant presentation team. I helped do some of the writing for the grant to talk about what the network would mean to people living with the disease, and became part of the senior management team once we learned of the award of the grant, and helped to form the first patient involvement model in the Canadian Arthritis Network. So people embedded right in the research, part of the research team. Nothing like it had existed before. And I'm so proud that 25 years later, and we said this in our holiday message, in our winter solstice message that went out yesterday, that now there are hundreds, if not 1,000 or more people like me sitting at tables, sharing thoughts and ideas about what kind of research should happen next to serve our community better. Sitting with pharmaceutical companies and talking about what it is we need, where things can be improved, digging around, in topics that aren't often discussed, such as intimacy, mental health, addiction, all of these things, Kelly, that are wrapped up in that word arthritis, and 50,000 members across the country. Like who would have thunk it, as they say, that we would go from there to here over that journey.
Fantastic. And maybe let's talk about another journey that you helped lead, and that is, and continue to lead, and that is our leadership in consumer and patient participation models and strategies. They're now embedded in arthritis research and policy making processes. Describe a little bit about that work, historically and up till today and in the future.
Yeah, so it's interesting that that pioneering work at the Canadian Arthritis Network, what it took to create that, Kelly, was a perfect storm, right? You needed researchers, clinicians, government, patients, consumers, all coming together saying, yeah, this feels right, this looks right, this is the right thing to be doing, to be not only giving a voice to the person with lived experience, but a vote, and the vote gets counted. It's not just a token hand that goes up and they skip over you, when they're tallying up the votes. Our vote counted, and over the years, some of that input, Kelly, has changed the course of entire research programs, has created research programs. And I'm not just talking about, looking through a test tube, or through a microscope looking at a petri dish. I'm talking about the social sciences, the clinical science world, all manner of research, and that really is the birthplace of patient involvement models. Sitting down and working with government to create patient input models. Then, when it came to adjudicating whether a medication should be placed on a public formulary, that was groundbreaking work, and the first place it happened was at our common drug, formerly known as the common drug review process, and as well in British Columbia, in Ontario, in Quebec. So certain of the provinces now include these types of models to gather that on the street, I call it experience, and putting it into policymaking practice. I think that's probably where we've helped play a very important role. ACE has never been afraid to be a loud voice in the room, because you have to break through the noise of 20 other voices who share that perspective, and there's one of you maybe, or two of you. So our voices have to be loud, they have to be based on evidence, the messages that we're carrying, and they have to be most importantly based on the experience of people living with the disease, their family members, their caregivers, etc.
As a Canadian leader in this field, it must have been gratifying to learn this month in December that the Canadian Drug Agency is reforming their committee work and their process adjudicating drugs, where they're going to include a patient in committee meetings to provide the lived experience that you're describing.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a really important move, and huge props, shout out to them for even beginning this work. We've been involved in the initial working group that informed the creation of the Common Drug Review way back in the day. I don't want to date myself too much, but that early, I think, excitement. Probably some of the policymakers think we're a bit of an irritant, but that's okay. You have to find ways to coexist, to actually push policy, make policy change that better serves people who need access to things, right? So, and I don't just mean access through a reimbursement mechanism, but access meaning it has to be developed in the first place. So even access to patient involvement models is a very important piece of work in our world.
We've also witnessed life-changing, life-saving progress made in treatments and therapies for various forms of autoimmune arthritis. Cheryl, but we still know significant challenges persist, particularly in some of those areas that you're talking about in terms of timely access. What's your message for people who are addressing these challenges today and can help make change happen for people with arthritis?
When I think about my own personal experience before my disease was well controlled, I didn't have a lot of energy, Kelly, to do anything else besides try to get to my job on time and try to do good work while I was at my job. So that's a real struggle for people, because the group of autoimmune diseases, and there are many of them that fall under the word arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, a disease in our community that doesn't have the word arthritis attached to it, lupus. All of these groups of diseases, really, it's only been in the last 20 years since we've started to see breakthrough therapies that have gotten me well enough that I want to be involved, that I wanted to get involved. And that's really why ACE was founded. But as you point out, not everyone has access to them on a formulary. So either through their public drug plan or through their private health insurance plan, often provided by their employer. And it's that inequity that drives us today. Yes, a large number of people are doing great, but there's an equally far too large number that are not. And options aren't even discussed with them because of what maybe is a baked-in assumption by perhaps a caregiver, whether it's a clinician or even a family member influencing them, right? So they're not even offered the range of choices today. And there's not a lot of people out there fighting for them to secure reimbursement. And that's something we do a lot of. We offer information in large group settings, like through our webinars, but also through our writings and through our ombudsperson work that we do here at ACE. So we'll go and rally for people if they don't have the strength and energy to do that for themselves.
And it's not just about medication.
Mhm.
You talk to a lot of stakeholders, and ACE has a lot of information about non-medication aspects of care as well. So we know people are having challenges with mental health and job disruption, sleep disturbance, relationship challenges. These are also areas where support is still sorely needed as well.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I like to say to policymakers, look, here's how you treat, let's say, cancer. Okay. So, and I'm so happy that there is, in most places, excellent cancer care. Yes, there are rural and remote challenges in cancer care, like there are in arthritis care. But when society hears the word cancer, Kelly, they get a gut punch. And there's an action plan that forms around the person actually fairly quickly. Education is provided, often peer support is provided. You can go to a cancer care center, support group. A model almost forms around you when you're given that diagnosis. And in the cases where it's appropriate, everybody goes into emergency action. Even the person who's given the diagnosis, Kelly, of arthritis, let's say an autoimmune form, because the societal myth persists that arthritis is just an older person's disease, and that's bad enough on its own, by the way, that it affects older people is equally bad. But when you're told that news as a young person, I got the news when I was 26, just turning 27. And when I said the word to my family and friends, it was sort of like written off. So I was almost, society sort of did in some ways dictated that I didn't go out and advocate, that I didn't press for, urgent sort of care. And when we know damage happens, it's irreversible within 6 weeks due to inflammation, urgent care is actually warranted. Reimbursement access to medications is warranted. And all of our treatment guidelines tell us that through really elegant and broad-based science funded by public research institutions, right? So it's not, we're not talking about pharma funding here. We're talking about research funded by us, by taxpayers. So I think it's sort of a double-edged sword a bit, that there is not the attention paid to us, but also we, as people with arthritis, sometimes buy into this notion that it's not that bad. And I'm telling you, there are, 90 different types of arthritis that are autoimmune that are bad, that rob you of your life, quality of life, and sometimes your life. And there's 6 million plus of us that live here in Canada. And that's really troubling to me. Glass half full, the discoveries that have been made have changed and saved people's lives. And it's one of the reasons, Kelly, we talk about arthritis and about changing it for people, right? We want to change the arthritis experience, not just for one person, but for millions of people. And we're one part of a very large community of patient organizations, clinical organizations, arthritis health professionals like PTs and OTs. We even, as you well know, as our VP of Public Affairs, we view government as our partner in this endeavor, right? So we're all in it together. But the person with arthritis faces challenges in every aspect of their life every day of their life after diagnosis, beyond medication. And it's that whole emergent model that should form around us when we're told the words, you have X type of arthritis, just the way someone with cancer would be told, or diabetes, or right. So, and we sometimes perpetuate the problem as a community. We need to start saying that's not good enough. We need to start drawing a line in the sand and saying that's not good enough.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, the
Yeah.
provinces and territories that we are meeting with on a regular basis over the last few years are starting to talk about changing models of care to, community-based care, team-based care. It's yet another model where arthritis has to be at that table while they're reforming and restructuring the delivery of care.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that certainly is something that drives us every day and will be driving us again in 2025. And as our episode is coming to an end, so is our year. And I'm going to let you have the final word as people are getting ready for holidays and getting ready for celebrating the winter solstice. Cheryl, final words over to you.
Yeah, I just would like to say to all of our members, but also our partners, in the work that we do on behalf of people with arthritis, with people with arthritis. We are people with arthritis here at ACE. So our viewpoint is from the ground, and I think that's been a very important part of our longevity over the years. But that longevity wouldn't have happened and won't continue unless we're doing the right things for people with arthritis. And something to know, if you're a person out there living with arthritis, you can count on ACE. You can reach out to us through our social media network, one of the largest in all of the diseases here, actually, in Canada and beyond borders. Um, you are in our hearts and minds every day. It is for you that we do this stuff. We meet every morning as a team, and the team says, when we talk about what we're going to try to accomplish that day, it is you, the person with arthritis, that sits in front of us at our desks, and is sort of omnipresent in our thoughts and in our planning and in our actual execution of the plan. So we want to thank all of you for participating in our organization, for being our partners, for holding hands, for linking arms, for exercising our voices in all that we do. And we ask you to continue walking the journey with us. It's super, super important. It's we are it's kind of an old tired phrase, but we are a village, and it takes a village to change arthritis. So thank you for being part of our village. We're really happy to be villagers with you. And we wish you very well peace, happiness, love, and improved health over the holidays and into the new year.
Thanks, Cheryl. Thank you, everyone. Happy New Year. Look forward to seeing you again in 2025.